Hey, good afternoon, guys. It's Don Deal, and it's Monday, I think the 27th or so of April. Been a couple of weeks since we've been together, and I promised you that I would send you a brief video and some resources a couple of times to just follow up on delegation. Uh, in my mind, it never is exciting to me to hit a subject one time and then never revisit it. So what I always try to do is maybe 1 week at a time for several weeks get something to you so that you can continue to do a little bit of work on it. You're already doing some work on it on your own and rereading some of the things we went through a couple of weeks ago. But that's where we're going to start. So let me give you a little quiz today. The four types of delegation that we talked about that came from Craig Groeschel and Andy Stanley. Do you remember what those four were? The first one was what? Started with an R. Yeah, research. And then the next two are similar, informed something, but they're two different ways. Do you remember what one of those are? Informed starts with a P, progress, and then informed starts with an R, results. And of course, that means that you want to stay connected with them. And the first one, informed progress, is knowing what steps they're taking. So it's maybe a newer leader. The second one, informed results, is simply finding out how they're going to go about it, giving some affirmation, letting them run with it, and then come back to you and let you know how it went and report on it. So they're informing the results after it's finished. That's the two different styles there. The last one then is just complete what? Starts with an O. That's right. I heard you say it. Ownership. It's complete ownership that you don't really care what they do. Not that you don't care, but it's not important. You don't need to make any of the decisions. They're completely free to do it all themselves. I use the example of Tracy at my former assignment doing the lunch and learn food. And so those kinds of things. So those are the four. And I want to challenge you with those to see if in the next 30 days you could see if there was a way that you could use each one of those. That's a high thing to ask, I know, but if you could find a way to practice using one of each of those four in some capacity with somebody in your ministry area. So anyway, there's the follow-up to that. In this email, of course, this is the video that I'll introduce kind of what we're talking about today. And then there are some notes in there. And so I wanted to walk through those with you here just a little bit. The first one is a survey. How well do you think that you are doing in delegation? And so you can make a copy of that survey and write into those numbers which one, or put a check mark in the number of how that seems like it works for you. And I'm going to read the questions to you. I actually have a few additional to those five that are on there. And if you want to rate yourself on these, that's fine. These are really good questions, and it was not included on the survey when I created that. So here we go. Grab a pen, pause it if you need to, make the copy, bring it back. I'll give you the five questions. You rate yourself and then see where your highs are, your lows are, and how do you think you can go about making that work. All right, so I'm going to read a little statement. Here's number one. This is off the page just a little bit. But I clearly identify which responsibilities only I should carry. The very first step. What do you only can do? You can't pass it off or delegate to anybody else. What are those tasks? Do you do a good job of sitting down and listing those things so you know what your real assignment is and where you need to live into that? Number two, this is also off the page. I regularly invite others into leadership opportunities. One through five. Well, how would you say that about yourself? Just being honest. Is that a normal practice? You're normally trying to do that? Do you tend to just keep it yourself and that's your first instinct and response? And something has to hit you upside of the head, maybe exhaustion, to know that you got to do things differently. So rate yourself 1 through 5 on those two things. Okay, now here we go. This is on the survey card there, or the sheet that I gave to you. Rate yourself on this one. Number three, I delegate responsibilities early rather than waiting until I am overwhelmed. Early rather than overwhelmed. How would you rate yourself? The next one, number four, I communicate clear expectations when assigning ministry tasks. I give detail. I tell them what I'm looking for, what you want to see happen. those kinds of things. Do you clearly give expectations ahead of time or just the basics? But so that way the win is very defined. All right, next question. I give people authority, not just responsibility. So they have the ability to make some decisions. Maybe not every one, but there's some areas. Maybe that's part of the expectations as well. But you give them the ability to make some decisions. The next one, I follow up without micromanaging. Now this is off the board just a little bit here, but I follow up, but I don't micromanage. I'm just getting information. How can I help? You're doing a great job. Let me know what you need. And here's when we'll check in again. Remember, that's your responsibility as staff. It's not their job to check in with you. Your job is to set the time, the date, and the time when you're going to do that. All right, next one. I view delegation as discipleship, not just task management. You really do understand the Ephesians 4 principle that says that we are responsible, called to equip God's people in our church for works of service, and that's why you do it, because this is part of it. This is how you get to that point. Number 8, I trust volunteers and staff to lead in their own style. This is one on the sheet there. Trust others style is what it's called. But you really do trust your volunteers and your staff to lead using their own style, even if it's a little different than your own. And then number 9, I provide feedback and encouragement after responsibilities are completed. This is off the board. You'll notice 5 are on the sheet, 5 are not. But I provide feedback and encouragement after responsibilities are completed. Sometimes, as ministry staff, we're going on to the next thing or the next person or the next assignment or event, and we forget to do debrief. We forget to encourage and thank and appreciate. It's a huge part of people feeling like they want to continue and do it again. A good way of celebration. So anyway, and then one more, rate yourself on this one. I intentionally develop future leaders through delegation. And that's the very last one, developing leaders. So put a number 1 to 5, add that up, and then ask yourself, what do I do well? What is it that I probably need a lot of improvement in, and how would I start doing that? And then rate yourself on that. Okay? The next thing that will be in the form in the email there is just a couple of questions, 3 questions for you guys as a team. When you come together at some point, Pastor Matt can guide and direct that. But there's 3 questions of application to the Columbia Grace Nazarene Church Ministry, and those 3 questions are listed in the email. And I think it would be good for you guys to talk about that. Which ministries seem to be a little heavy in just leader-driven rather than staff-driven? Which one seems to be just a Lone Ranger kind of thing, and maybe it's not gathering support? Maybe there's an evaluation that needs to happen there. And so do those 3 questions in this email. All right. Well, that's it. That's what I wanted to give to you. I hope you'll follow up and continue to learn more about your own leadership and how you can not only evaluate yourself, but how you can put those things into practice. And so you'll see a couple of questions on there that'll help you to do that. And in this survey sheet that I gave to you, it says an action step on the end that says this week, what responsibility and to whom will I give that? And when is the follow-up date? Fill that out, put it into practice, maybe take one of those 4 from the beginning and say, let's see how this works to help me in my ministry. All right. Let me know if you have any questions or I can help in any way. Appreciate your time, and I believe in you, and keep working at it. We'll talk soon.